Hey everyone, this is Joseph at Face Up.
Hi, my name is Jordan, and I'm also a member of Face Up.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about 4 of the No Game No Life partners. We did some spoilers for or we translated some of the spoilers on our Facebook page. So in this video today, we're going to be talking about Jibril, Shiro, Sora, and Fiel. We were going to have Henry join us, but unfortunately he couldn't join us today. He had things to do. So Jordan and I will both be talking about these cards and in a little bit of detail, but we're not going to talk about too much of the card pool that's been revealed yet. But we kind of want to give a little bit of detail and just some generic things that each of these partners do. So I'm going to go ahead and start and talk about Jibril.
Okay.
So we've got the effect on screen for you. I'm not going to read it to make sure that it doesn't take too much time. But as you can see, her first ability basically allows you to scry at the beginning of your turn. And you can add any amount of a specific event to your hand as you want. And then you just put the rest of the cards back on the top of your deck in any order. So the event, I'm going to go ahead and read what the event does and basically show it to you on screen here. You just have to have Jibril as your partner, and you can run as many of this card in your deck, which if you run a lot of them, that's how you utilize your Scry engine to allow you to add them to hand. Mm-hmm. So basically they can one of the abilities is to give something stats, or you can give Jibril stats and penetrate. You can discard one to give any character first strike and first defense. And then the other ability is that you can send 3 copies of this specific event from hand to waiting room. If you do, you can put your Jibril onto face-up stand. So it basically re-stands her pseudo, however you would want to think of that on offense or defense. So, so basically, in combination with the event and Jibril's second ability, which allows you to reveal copies of the event, similar to how you would reveal specific cards with the Beatrice partner from ReZero, you can get specific effects depending on how many of the event that you reveal. It doesn't really matter that your opponent knows that you have them in hand because they saw that you're going to, scry them from the beginning of turn and add them to hand, and you're probably going to be running a lot of these. So in terms of surprising your opponent, that's not really going to happen, but it doesn't really matter because you're running a lot of this. So basically, you can give stats to something yet again. You can nullify skills on a character, or you can put an opponent friend that's not participating in battle to face down. So some things to note about this is basically the card combination between her and this event is going to allow you to pump certain things up. It's going to allow you to give her penetrate. The event is going to allow you to give something both first strike and first defense, which essentially means that whether or not you use it on your turn or your opponent's turn, something is going to be able to defend itself or aggressively attack your opponent. And you're probably going to be giving it to Jibril. Another cool thing to mention with this that makes her pretty cool and probably pretty powerful, she's generally very aggressive with this card combination, is that you can use her second ability during battle to reveal as many copies of this as you want, and the cost stacks. So if you reveal 3, you get all 3 abilities. And then after you do that, you can follow up later in your battle phase by using the event to also get the effects from the event. So it's not like you have to choose between the event and, Jibril's effects herself. You get to do both.
Right.
So she's pretty aggressive, I would say. I think some people in our locals think she's going to be really funny. You just spam a bunch of the event. But Jordan, you have any comments?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that the fact that the second ability gives both first strike and first defense is actually pretty helpful because you can use that during any battle phase. You don't have to choose between I want to attack or I want to guard. It makes the options for choosing for you, the player, very simple. And at the same time, it makes it harder for your opponent to stop.
Yeah, I agree. She's kind of a, I don't know, she's just a very aggro build. You're adding a lot of stuff to hand really quickly from her scry, but you're getting so much immediate return out of it from even the beginning of the game that she's just straight out of the gate, really powerful. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the Shiro partner. Jordan's going to talk about her a little bit.
the Shiro partner is actually pretty interesting in my opinion. The entry cost is draw 2, discard 1, which is pretty helpful if you're playing her as a friend. As a partner, if either this or a Sora friend attack or guard, they're both going to gain +3/+3 until the end of the turn. What this means is that they are instead of your Shiro being a base 6/6, this becomes base 9/9 on attack or guard, which is pretty cool. We also have the main and battle ability, which is once per turn. You can put one character from face up to face down to look at the top 3 cards and draw one. If you choose not to draw, you can target one of your opponent's friends and put it to rest. This is a pretty standard ability, I think. Not in combination with Scry, but being able to tap a friend is useful for the times where they have a rather big friend that you just want to neutralize. You don't need to put it face down necessarily. And Scry is also a very powerful effect in ChaOS. But now, I also want to talk about the Sora friend that is used in conjunction. The entry cost is to either put a character from face-up stand to face-down reverse, or you can use the trespass effect, which is to send a face-up friend to the waiting room and then put a Shiro from face-down to face-up. Already, the trespass cost is pretty useful if you want to heal your Shiro. Or if you want to play a card that says, oh, when this enters, draw, and then just send it to the waiting room and play this instead. It's a pretty big character at base stats 7/4, which with the Shiro ability becomes a 10/7 before other boosts.
So one thing that we should go ahead and mention about this combination is that essentially the Shiro partner is pretty straightforward. You're just getting boost and giving boost between both these characters, and it doesn't matter which one of them attack or guards first. They're both going to get big.
Right.
I think, we can go ahead and say that it doesn't have to be this specific Sora that you use as the friend, but I think in general, it's the one you're going to use specifically for the other abilities that he has.
Right. The second ability of the Sora friend is once per turn. When Shiro puts this friend from face up to face down through cost or effect, you can send 2 cards from waiting room to backyard, and both this and Shiro are going to gain penetrate until the end of the turn. Now, what this means is that you're going to have a pretty consistent penetrate on your partner and this card. The only drawback so far is that you need a way to heal Sora, but generally that isn't very hard, what with extras that just you can send them back face up to heal, or events that allow you to heal as well.
And there's also a set that you can use with Shiro that specifically when it's attached to your Shiro partner, it allows you to, I believe at the beginning of the battle phase,
Yes.
Put your Sora back face up. Do you know what card that is, Jordan?
That is NGL 067.
Yeah, okay, I'll put that on the screen so that they can see as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the last ability of the Sora friend that when your Shiro is chosen as a guard character, you can target something and put it from rest to stand, which is pretty good because if, say the Sora himself gets tapped on entry or something, you can just put him back to stand when your Shiro attacks. So I think it's a pretty straightforward partner and combination that you can use. I think it's a relatively just easy thing to start building. You essentially already have 12 cards right there that are meant for the build.
Mm-hmm.
Big stats is always a good thing.
I agree.
But I think she has some sort of maybe obvious weaknesses, I guess, with the stat growths. If you nullify stat gains, that's one thing.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I would say is because both Sora and Shiro gain penetrate, if you don't have a way to heal Sora, then that's one penetrate friend that you just can't use for that turn.
Yeah, you really need to depend on the set or some way to heal him to make use of him as, well, both an attack and a guard character.
Yeah. Especially because in order for you to stand a resting character from Sora's second ability, you need to guard with Shiro. So if for some reason you extra her and they tap it and you don't have a way of untapping Shiro, then there's really nothing you can do. You just can't use that ability.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to the Sora partner. So he's probably the card that we're sort of eyeing in the set as being probably one of the more powerful cards as both a partner and a friend.
He's certainly the most exciting, at least in my opinion, and his continuous ability is that your opponent's maximum hand size is reduced by 2. Now, in any card game, this is a pretty big deal, but in ChaOS, going from 7 cards to 5 cards makes you really consider what you're going to use as fodder and what to keep, and that's before even using cards to guard. He is a 3/3 with +2/+2 extra modifiers. So as a partner, he's only going to be 5/5 and grow to an 11/11, which makes him slightly weaker than the average partner. But with an ability like this, it's not that bad.
Your opponent can't do much in the first place if they have less cards in hand than they would like to. Also, we should point out that this continuous ability is you can use it as a friend. If you use Sora as a friend, then that ability still works.
Right. It actually works pretty well with the Shiro, in my opinion. But moving on, the partner ability for this card, when either you or your opponent attacks, you may draw a card, and if you do, your opponent draws 2. Now, this is a rather interesting ability because it's not deck burn. In fact, it in some ways helps your opponent because they may have scryed and now they're just drawing 2 cards. On the other hand, they're drawing 2 cards that they may or may not need. They're drawing cards that they just can't keep.
It's like a forceful deck burn, and in conjunction with the fact that they only have 5 cards in hand,
right?
They don't know really what to do with the extra cards, unless they've had some way to combat sort of. But you really it's not an easy thing to just place something on your field that says, "Oh no, wait, I do have 7 cards in my hand."
I think it's a really interesting way to combat scry when your opponent just has their partner on the top of their deck and then you attack and then they just draw into their partner.
Either they draw into something they've set up or they don't have enough time to react and you force them to draw things that they might not have wanted to draw. So let's talk about the Shiro friend that you can use with this with the Sora partner.
Absolutely. It's a 3/10 with an entry cost of face up stand and face down reverse. The trespass is discard a character and you can bounce a friend to your hand. It's a continuous face down okay ability. If your partner is Sora, and it doesn't matter which one, your max hand size is +2. So now your max hand size goes from 7 to 9, which yes?
When your opponent has 5 and you have 9, that's already a good sign for you and a terrible sign for them. So.
Absolutely. This lets you hold about 1/5 of your deck in your hand at any time in the game.
That's actually really scary. I didn't think about that. That's pretty terrifying.
On top of that, what with the stats of a 3/10, this is already a really good defensive option if you're not using it for anything else. This also has a battle ability once per turn. Your partner needs to be Sora, which if you're playing this, probably is. Discard 2, and you can choose to draw 2. If you don't, then your opponent draws 2, and then you target one of your characters and give it +4 attack and +4 defense until end of turn. Now, in my opinion, the stat boost is nice, but what's really interesting is that you can force your opponent to draw more cards, essentially burning through their deck when they didn't want to.
The same thing that we were talking about with Sora's partner is that they can't hold all these cards in hand because they only have 5 cards that they can have in hand. So
yeah,
you're basically forcing them to discard at the end of the turn, unless somehow they have like a really aggressive, like event-based deck or something that they can actually use these when they draw into on both offense and defense reliably, yeah, you're probably just burning them through their day.
And more so, the fact that you only need to discard 2 when you're going from 9 to 7. 7 is still a full hand for every other partner in the game. So that's actually not as bad a trade for you as it is for them.
It's probably not something that you're going to want to use all the time because it's, you know, if you keep using this, you're essentially also deck burning yourself too to just keep drawing so that you can burn them for 2. The only difference is the trade-off for them is a lot worse. They can't really do anything to stop. You're basically controlling the hand size and the drawing power for both players during the whole game.
Right.
So let's go ahead and move to Fiel for the last portion of the video.
Mm-hmm.
So in my opinion, I think Fiel actually, looking at all the partners, I kind of think that she could be the most powerful. That's just kind of when I've been looking at her, that's kind of the feeling I get. Not necessarily true. I think Sora is very powerful on his own, but in terms of maybe what you would consider as more of a standard effect, the way that something works, that could normally be combated, I think she's really strong. So basically what she does is that during your battle phase, when your Kurami is put from face up to face down, you can put her back to face up. This is only during battle phase, but if you also have 2 or more friends, it doesn't say specifically what position they have to be in, you can put your Fiel partner back to face up stand. So that ability alone is pretty great because you're going to have some sort of Kurami on board, which will I'll put a specific friend on screen in a second that synchronizes really well with this partner. But essentially, whether it's on offense or defense, you can say you can guard with your partner, and then you can guard with this friend Kurami that you have, and then your Kurami goes face down. But then you just put it face back up, and if you meet the right criteria of basically being turn 2, you're gonna put your partner back face up. So it's a really good defensive option, and essentially the same thing works on attack. You can swing. Kurami goes face down, you put her back face up, and then you can put your partner back in a face-up stand and swing again. So her other ability is a battle, okay, main phase, partner once per turn. Mm-hmm. So basically anytime, just once per turn. You put a character card from your waiting room to backyard. Mm-hmm. And then until the end of the battle phase, you can give something -2/2, and then you can draw. It's just a nice stat reduction that you can give to your opponent, and it allows you to draw one with, you're not burning a card from your hand. You're just using what's already in your waiting room. So the other card that we want to talk about in conjunction with Fiel as partner is she doesn't specify that you have to have a specific Kurami, but the one that I'm putting on the screen now is probably the one that you're going to want to use. So she has entry and trespass, which means she has a couple different ways to get onto the arena. But so her first and only ability, or at least initially, is an auto once per turn that when your partner Fiel sends a card from waiting room to backyard, which is what she's going to do with her second ability that I just read. Until the end of the turn, this and your Fiel partner get +2 attack and penetrate, and then they also get the continuous ability to guard while rested. So essentially, when you put all this together, you have a card combination that does, if you have both of these on board, you can have just these 2 characters attacking and guarding multiple times in a turn, both on offense and defense. I think most interestingly on offense, if you swing with Kurami and say she has a +2 attack and penetrate because you used Fiel's second ability and that triggered Kurami's auto ability. Mm-hmm. She's going to be an 8/2 with penetrate, and your partner's, or your opponent is going to think, wow, I need to stop this, I've got to stop the penetrate. But oh man, if I stop this and put the Kurami face down because she's only got 2 defense, then she's just going to go back face up. And if that happens, then that means her partner's, the Fiel partner, is going to go back face up. And oh man, then I have to deal with another attack. So it's essentially, this partner is really interesting and I think really powerful because, again, like I say, both on attack and defense, she's essentially restander. She's essentially something that just heals herself back, that allows you to defend with her again. And when you start taking this into the context of, say you're playing against somebody that's being really aggressive, and somehow during a turn, they attack you, and you've exhausted these ability. Well, then if you think about what other event options you might have, or the fact that your partner could auto level up, it's a really strong defense or offense.
I like the fact that on top of the how easily she can manipulate the state of battle, the board state. She's also giving -2/-2 to something.
Yeah.
And on top of that, before you even enter the battle phase, she mitigates a lot of the costs that she needs for events or for anything else. So in the resource game, she's probably going to win out over your opponent's partner, which means you may essentially spend 1 or even 0 cards, while they may have to spend 2 or more just to try to stop you.
Right, yeah. She doesn't really take you putting much input in to get something out. The only thing that I do want to mention that becomes more complicated, and it may be what you have to address the weaknesses of the deck that when you build, is that if your opponent puts your Kurami face down during their main phase, it does not trigger the ability. So essentially what you're going to have to do is hopefully run a card that's of the archetype that, say during their battle phase, you can play an event that allows your Kurami to go back face up. And then you can essentially, you're back in business. But if you don't have an answer to that, then this isn't as powerful of a combination. But I still think you're probably going to have something like that you can use in the deck. So anyway, I think in conclusion, just if we look back at these partners and some of the other partners that we've already looked at, that we've been translating, you can find these translations on our Facebook page, by the way. If you haven't seen it, it'll be linked in this video, or what I'm sharing this video as, rather. But I think a lot of people in our group think that No Game No Life has a lot of potential. There's a lot of strong effects. A lot of us are excited about the set. I think it'll be a lot of it. It has a lot of good things going for it.
I think it has the potential to change the way the meta is right now. It's not that there are only strong effects, but that they could potentially change the way the game is played. And to use an example, Sora, the fact that you essentially manipulate the management game is just an entirely different way to approach the game as a whole. You're no longer trying to attack your opponent through his cards. You're attacking him through his deck.
I think another thing to bring up is that we didn't talk about some of the special extras that are in this set, which I think a lot of people might have been hoping that we were talking about. But maybe we'll do another video regarding those after this. If you guys want to see a part 2 with other partners, those extras, if you know what we're talking about, will definitely be in them because Steph and Ted work with those.
Yeah. But
yeah, there are some extras that definitely allow for some unique gameplay that are they're not necessarily just easy to predict or stop. Anyway, yeah, I think that I'm excited for this set. I plan to build a deck. We'll see what I'll do, but
certainly a very flavorful set.
Yeah. But thank you guys for watching. If you want a part 2 of the other 4 partners, let us know in the comments on our YouTube page for this video, or on our Facebook page where I'll be sharing this. Look out for the box opening. Henry and I will be doing that sometime after the release, whenever we get the boxes in. And then we're still working on the translations as they're being released and spoiled. So those should be up soon afterwards. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.